I'm gonna try to do this video, you guys. I'm gonna try. Hi guys, thank you all so much for tuning in to my channel. I'm Princess Fornah. If you're new to my channel, you are so welcome. For my returning subscribers, I love you guys so much. You already know this. For my new viewers, since you're already here, go ahead and stick around by making sure you click on that subscribe button. And then also just hit the notification bell so that way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. So today we're going to have a story time. I promised you guys on my comeback video that this year I am going to be a little more personal with you guys. I'm going to show you guys different aspects of my life and try to just be as transparent with you guys about my life as possible, along with other things that we usually do and talk about on this channel. So I just pray and I hope that this story time will be able to bless somebody and encourage somebody, and you will just be able to remember that whatever has a beginning has an end, and for as long as you have life, there's always hope for a brighter future. Okay, so let's get started. So it was back in 2009, I believe. Back in 2009, it was one evening and I was just sitting in our living room. We used to live back in Maryland at that time. I was just sitting in my living room. My brother had gone to bed. My dad used to work nights. So he was already out at work, away at work, and it was just me and my brother. My brother was sleeping. For some reason that night, I could not sleep. I was up very late. I could not sleep. I was in the living room for a long time. So when I finally got up and I went to my room to go lay down, I got in the room, I laid down, but my spirit was just not at peace at all. So I laid down and I was turning around and I was tossing and turning. So I heard a voice that just told me to get up and go to my brother's room, and just lay in my brother's room with him. So I was obedient. I got up, I went to my brother's room, and then I laid down. And funnily, if that's even a word, just a few minutes later, I think I dozed off. I don't even remember how I fell asleep. I fell asleep. In the midnight, like late in the night, in the morning, I got up and I started coughing. And I was just like coughing hysterically. And my brother also woke up and started coughing. So we didn't understand what was going on, so we were just coughing. So my brother turned on the light in his room, and the whole room was filled with smoke. And so we were both just like, so we ran out of the bed and we ran to the kitchen thinking maybe one of us left the stove on, maybe somebody left something in the microwave. But nothing was going on in the kitchen. Everything, was off. We ran to the living room. Everything was fine in the living room. And then we tried to get through my door, not knowing that when I was leaving out my door out my room to go to my brother's room, I'd locked the door. So something said, okay, take a knife. So I ran to the kitchen, got a knife, and opened, forced my room door to open. When the door swung open, you guys, a blaze of fire just came blazing out of my room door. And so when the fire came blazing out of my room, it was the winter time. It was very, very cold. I think that it was like -degrees or something outside. And so mind you, all we had on, my brother and I, was just our pajamas. So we are running around looking for a fire extinguisher, but we couldn't just think straight, and the fire extinguisher, we just couldn't get it to work. So I remember telling my brother, let's just get the rest of the neighbors out, because it's legit, fire. The house was burning. And I literally had no shoes on. My brother had no shoes on. All we had on was just pajamas. And we ran out the door and outside into the neighborhood. And we were just standing there and we were watching everything that our parents had labored for, everything that my mom and my dad had worked so hard for. At this time, my mom had died already, but everything that they had invested in, worked so hard for, we stood outside in the middle of the street in the wintertime, barefooted, with only pajamas on, no jacket, and we were watching the house burn down. And we couldn't do anything. We couldn't save anything. We couldn't save any pictures and the videos, nothing. Like, we literally watched everything burn down into flames. The fire department came. They ran in there, basically put the fire out, but everything was gone. And the only thing in the midst of the fire that didn't burn down was a Bible. First of all, think about this. I was in my room, laying down, and then a voice, which I up till today believe that it was the voice of God, told me, go to your brother's room. Just for me to go to my brother's room for a fire to start up in my room. You guys, that could have been my end. There wouldn't have been a Princess Fornah had I not heard that voice tell me, get out, go to your brother's room. And when the house burned down, the only thing that didn't burn in the house was a Bible. A lot of times I get the question, people ask me, why do you love God so much? Or why are you so religious, right? Or why are you, so sold out for Christ when you're so young, you're supposed to be having fun, right? But when you have gone through valleys and shadows of death, and God has spared you, and you have over and over seen the hand of God at work in your life, who wouldn't be in love with a Savior? Who wouldn't be in love with a deliverer? Some of y'all, let's say it's not even God. Let's not even bring God into it, right? Some of y'all, let's say maybe it's an uncle, it's an aunt, it's somebody that came to your rescue when you needed it the most. Wouldn't you forever be grateful towards that individual? For me, I'm just thinking, like, how much more me showing gratitude to God, right? So the house burnt down, and we didn't have nowhere to go. Obviously, we became homeless. The Red Cross came through, and they had taken, my brother and my dad to a temporary location, somewhere where they can just have to lay their heads, somewhere they can just have, to stay and stuff like that. And I remember a friend at the time, and her family asked me to come stay with them. They were like, yeah, I could come stay with them. And they were girls as well. They were all females, but they had a brother. And so I was just like, cool, So I went and I stayed with them. And then whilst I was there, it was all good. They treated me well, and they were kind and all that stuff. But what they didn't know, and I had never shared this with anybody except for later on, I told my brother and I told my friend, who was the reason why I went to go stay with them, and I told my ex-boyfriend at the time. So when I got there, my friend's brother used to sexually assault me, and he would go out, he would go drink, get drunk. He also used to smoke. There were times where I would fall asleep in their living room, and when he would come, he would start feeling on me. He would start touching on me, caressing certain body parts without my permission. If you've ever been touched inappropriately, you know what that feels like. It's a feeling of disgust. It is an unwanted feeling. If you've ever not only even been touched inappropriately, but sexually abused, raped, or molested, then you know what that feeling is like. And at the time, even though I'm grateful that it didn't go to the extent of rape or anything like that, but at the time, I felt like I couldn't tell anybody. I felt like I couldn't tell the sisters, because I wasn't sure if anybody would believe me. I couldn't tell the mom, who was such a sweetheart, because I didn't want to create problems in their family. I mean, I was homeless. It was a nice gesture for them to ask me to come and stay with them, and I was dealing with the death of my mom at the time, and things like that. And so I didn't want to cause problems. So I was going to school, so I started staying late at school. I got a job. I would work like the evening shifts. I joined the cheerleading team. Like, I was doing all these things to just keep me out the house, to keep me away from that. Um, but then one day I couldn't take it anymore. So I started driving to where my dad and my brother were staying with the Red Cross. And I remember I would get there and my dad would ask me, "Why are you here? Don't you have school tomorrow?" And mind you, I won't tell them at the house that where I'm going. I would just leave. And my dad would be like, "Well, don't you have school tomorrow?" And I'm like, "Oh, I do. I just miss you guys." I knew I couldn't tell my brother because my brother doesn't play about me and he's very short-tempered. So I didn't like. I just felt like my brother would probably try to kill him or something, and I didn't want my brother to go to jail. And so one night, I went back to the house, to their house, my friend's house. And I remember calling my ex-boyfriend, shout out to Musa. And I told Musa, I said, "Musa, I'm being sexually assaulted almost every day. And I think I'm losing my mind and I don't know what to do." I said, "I think I'm going to go crazy." And so Musa said, "What's wrong?" And so I explained to him, I said, the young man here in the house is sexually assaulting me, and I don't know, what to do. And so I remember going over to Musa and them's house and him just holding me and me just crying, on his shoulders and just crying. And I remember we drove to the grave, and we went to my mom's grave. And I remember standing at the grave and just telling my mom, "I don't know what to do. I don't know if he's doing it intentionally, because half the time when he's coming home, he's either drunk or he's high from smoking weed." And so Musa just stood there at the grave, at my mom's grave with me, and he just hugged me, and I just cried. And I remember going back to my dad and my brother and telling them, "I know we don't have anything, and I know where you guys are staying right now is pretty small, and I know you both are sleeping on the floor." I was like, "But I want to come and stay here with you guys. I'd rather sleep on the floor. I'd rather eat nothing with y'all than continue to be there and continue to be sexually assaulted." And I remember my dad and my brother, they went and they got some stuff, some groceries and some other stuff and some money. And they took it to the family and they told them, "Thank you, for having her, we're taking her back home," and stuff like that. So I went back, to where my dad and my brother were staying. And mind you, it was just a small spot. We were sleeping on the floor. We were eating dried rice, white rice, every day, because that's all we could afford at the time. My dad also got laid off from his job around that time. My brother also got laid off from his job around that time. So we were just eating dried rice, sleeping on the floor. I remember times where I would wake up in the morning and I would be in so much pains. My ribs will be hurting from laying on the floor. My back will be hurting. Shoulders and things will be hurting, because we had absolutely nothing. There was no television. Some days, all my brother and I will have, to go to bed is just drink water. And I remember there are times where I would look at my brother whilst we were laying on the floor and I would tell him, "I can't sleep because I'm so hungry." And my brother, there was not, like, he wasn't sure what to do. And he was just like, "You know what, just drink water." And then the next day he will go to Langley Park and help the Spanish people that does like moving things. And they would move people's furnitures for them just so he can bring some money so that we can have maybe sardine with our rice for that day. Maybe we can have maybe like just a bottle of juice that we would share. And life was tough. And then I remember that after a while we were finally able to move to our own place again. We moved to our own place, but then we couldn't keep up with the rent. I was working two jobs. I was working at Kids Rainbow and I was working at the Home Depot, but it wasn't paying much, so we were still struggling to make ends meet. So I remember one day I came home from work and there was an eviction notice on our door that we were getting thrown out, I think in like 2 or 3 days. And I remember just saying, why? Why is it always us? Why is it one thing after the other? First is our mom, then we lose our house, then I go through being sexually assaulted, then we were homeless, now we finally start getting our lives back together, now we're getting evicted. And so I remember running to the recruiting office, and I remember just telling the recruiter, I think a year before that I had gone to go see him, but I was just so afraid because I'm just like, I don't want to die in the military. I'm too young to go to the military. So I was just afraid the first time I went. But this time with the eviction notice, I ran back to the recruiting office. And I just remember telling him, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to do whatever it takes. I'm ready to go. Just sign me up. I mean it this time. I'm ready. I'm focused. And so he signs me up, and I remember during my waiting period to leave for boot camp, I remember just telling God, God, just send us help. Just send us help from anywhere. Send help so that I wouldn't have to go to the military. What if I go to the military and die? Send help, God, because I don't want to go. If there's just a way out from me going to the military, then please, God, just send the help. That's all I need you to just deliver me from this decision that I'm getting ready to make. And at the time, it seemed as though help came from nowhere, and I had to go to the military. I'm going to stop my story time there for today. But there are a few things that I want to point out from my story that I hope would encourage somebody. Okay? The first thing first, how God delivered me from that fire that night. You're looking at yourself right now, and you went through a very drastic situation, and you felt as though, just like us, you felt like you've lost it all. You lost everything. We lost everything in that fire. Every memory of my mother that we have, every home video, I'm not even thinking about the furniture and the TV and all those things, but for me, what was most prized possession was the memories of my mom. Everything was lost in that fire, and that's you. You feel like you've lost everything. You've labored so hard for something unfortunate happened. That business came crashing. You went bankrupt, whatever it may be, and you're feeling like this is your end. And maybe you are standing in the middle of the street barefooted, like my brother and I were standing in the middle of that street in that cold winter night. I want you to understand that sometimes we go through the valleys and the shadows of death because it's a part of our journey. See, at the time, I didn't understand it then. Okay? At the time, I didn't understand why all that craziness was happening to me. And if this is you and you had to go through maybe being molested, maybe being raped, maybe being sexually assaulted, for a long time, it has been almost 10 years. I've done different times, I've attempted to do videos where I try to speak on the sexual assault, and I never uploaded those videos because I felt ashamed. I felt like it was disgraceful, and sometimes you will feel ashamed, you will feel like it's disgraceful, you feel like it's your fault, like you will blame yourself for being raped, for being sexually abused, for being sexually assaulted. But you have to understand that it's not your fault. Okay, I didn't ask to be sexually assaulted, just like how I'm pretty sure you didn't ask to go through that thing either. But you have to understand that when I finally got to speak out about it, when I finally got to tell Musa, when I finally got to take myself out of that situation and out of that environment, I told myself, no, yeah, here I'm eating everything I may want to eat. I have a bed that I'm sleeping on, but I will give up all of this and I will go rather sleep on the floor with my dad and my brother and eat dried rice every day of my life. Is that if that's what I have to do to get out of this toxic situation? And sometimes you just have to. Sometimes it seems like you might have to give up to walk out of that domestic violent relationship, to walk out of that abuse, to walk out. It may seem costly. It may seem like, man, I'm leaving so much behind. But sometimes you have to take yourself out of that situation for your own sanity, for your own good. Sometimes you have to seek help. I felt like I couldn't talk to the sisters and I couldn't tell my dad and my brother, but I spoke to my ex-boyfriend. Find somebody that you can trust and talk to and get the help that you need. So don't suffer it alone. Stop blaming yourself. Stop hurting yourself. Stop self-destructing yourself. You didn't ask for it. It is not your fault alone. And then I got to a crossroads of, God, I really don't want to join the military, but I don't seem to have any option right now. God, just send me the help. And it seems as though the help wasn't coming, and I ended up going to the military. Maybe that's you. Maybe you've been crying for help from everywhere and help is not coming. And you've had to end up doing some things that you perhaps personally would not have preferred to do. You had to end up to do some things that maybe you weren't so proud of, or maybe that you didn't want to. See, at the time when I was asking for help and it seems like help wasn't coming, I felt like God had forgotten about me. I felt like God wasn't listening. God, get me out of here. Send the help. I felt like God wasn't listening. But what I later on came to realize was me going to the military was the best thing that ever happened to me. It didn't only take me out the hood. It didn't only save my life, because who knows where I would have ended up today. You know, I would have probably had a bunch of kids running around. I would have probably ended up dead, because a week before I left for boot camp, my little cousin got shot in the head and he died. I would have probably ended up dead. But I went to the military. I got disciplined. I learned so much about life. I made some really great relationships in the military. I built some really good foundations in the military. I grew in my faith with God. It was in the military that I really started preaching. It was in the military that I started speaking in conferences and in public and ministering to other sailors and things like that. So what I thought was going to be the worst thing that could ever happen to me, what I thought was me going to the military and me dying there, ended up being the best thing that could happen to me. Sometimes those difficult situations, those tough decisions that you've had to make, right? Those hard decisions that you've had to make that you thought, man, I don't know how else, things can get worse. Sometimes it is those situations, it is those things that God will use to transform your lives. It is those things that God will use to make you a blessing. It was in the military that I received the vision for the Princess Fornah network. It was in the military that I launched my network. I started doing PFN and my YouTube whilst in the military. So me going through those things that I went through, and me ending up in the military, which was not something that I wanted to do, but that life forced me into doing. Now, mind you, I could have made the decision to probably either join, a gang, to probably start slipping around or find me a sugar daddy, or to start, stripping at the bar, at the clubs, or whatever. I could have made those decisions, right? But I chose to go to the military. What am I saying? Just because you're in a terrible, situation does not mean that you degrade yourself. It does not mean that you sell your self-worth or your dignity or your morals out the window. There's always something there that you can do. It may be tough. It may mean you might have to work 2-3 jobs. It means that you might have to be, uncomfortable for a while. But what am I saying? Sometimes make those tough decisions, but don't compromise, your self-value, your self-worth, your morals for money, your morals for the easy way out. Don't go selling your body for the easy way out of a fast money. Don't join that again. Don't start selling those drugs for the easy way out. find something, right, that sometimes it may be critical. Sometimes you may not even think that you are capable enough to do that. But if you do it, like prayerfully, because before I left to the military, I prayed, I'm like, God, since you're not going to send the help, well, I'm going to the military, at least protect me while I'm there. And then I went, and it changed my life. So you are in that village, you're in that third world country, you are watching me. You've lost your parents, you're homeless, you've been abused, you've been sexually abused and assaulted, you're in a domestic violence relationship. Understand that whatever has a beginning has an end. People will not understand your story just by looking at you. If anything, look at me and receive hope. And understand that it's not about what you're going through right now. You guys watch my YouTube videos every Friday. Some of you watch me on Facebook every Saturdays. You guys follow my platforms and you see the things that by the grace of God that I am doing. You have to understand that it didn't all just happen like this. So God allowed me to go through so many hardships. But what you understand, you have to know is that all the things that you're going through, they're only going to strengthen you. Because I was homeless, now I have so much passion, compassion for those in need. Because I know what it's like to sleep on the floor, to have nothing to eat, to go to bed on an empty stomach. I have a heart of passion for those that are less fortunate and less privileged. Because I've had to make some tough decisions in my life that I wouldn't have preferably made or chose or wanted to do. I can understand when somebody reaches out to me and say, Pastor P, this is what I've had to deal with. So you have to understand that sometimes life is not always going to be a walk in the park. Sometimes your friends' lives may be easier and they may seem simpler and you might want to envy them. But you have to understand that your story is uniquely tailored to you. And if only you will not allow that person that raped you, that person that hurt you, that the loss, that grief to take total dominance over your life, you will see, you will find out just how much stronger you are. You will find out just how much capable you are. You will find out just truly what you are made of. And you in turn will be able to turn around to be a blessing to so many people. So before you commit suicide, before you keep cutting yourself and being self-destruct, before you continue binging and purging, understand that what you're going through, the hardships, your mom can send you back to the university, or you're probably homeless, or your mom or your dad is on drugs and you're in foster care. You have to understand that your story is going to be so unique and that you're going to be such a great blessing. It may not seem like it now, it may not look like it now, but God is taking you somewhere. If only you will keep pushing through. Don't give up. Don't throw in the towel. Don't end it now, because greater is coming. There are better days ahead. I didn't think that better days were ahead for me. But if I'm sitting and you're watching me on your phones, on your tablets, on your television screens, on your computers, on your laptops, understand that better is coming. Okay? So today I just wanted to share just this little aspect of my life with you guys for this story time. I hope that somebody has been, encouraged, empowered, and blessed by it. With time, I will keep peeling off some more of the layers, just to try to stay as transparent with you guys as possible. But just understand that it will get better. Just understand that your circumstance, your situation, your family situation, there will be a turnaround. There is hope. God has not forgotten about you. Don't give up. Don't sell yourself short. Don't sell your dignity, your morals, your self-worth, your values just for quick results. Push through. Sometimes choose the hard road. It will pay off in the end. I chose the military. I'm not saying go choose the military, but sometimes choose the hard road, because the easy road might end you in the wrong destination. But hang in there. That is the moral of the story. Hang in there. Keep pushing. Don't give up. Don't throw in the towel, because this is not how it ends. Better days are ahead. And if I'm sitting here and I'm telling you that better days are ahead, believe me, better days are ahead. And people will not understand how far God has brought you. People look at me and they don't know what God has brought me through. And that will be your testimony. People will look at you and they will desire to be like you. They will desire to have your strength and your courage and your motivation. And it is in those moments that you will look back and you say, God, I am grateful, and God, thank you for how far you've brought me. Because nobody will understand that if it wasn't for God, you wouldn't be here today. If it wasn't for God, I wouldn't be here today. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I'll catch you guys in the next one. God bless you.